Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I'm going to show you how to make a tape resist watercolor painting. So all you need is some thick cardstock, some painter's tape, paintbrushes, water, and of course your watercolors, which you can get either in a tube or in these are called patties, which both are pretty easy to find. And so basically all we have to do is paint. It's called a tape resist because when you put painter's tape down on the paper, it actually repels the water because painter's tape is kind of like this plasticky coating, so it makes it really just repel the water. It's something called hydrophobic. So, little science lesson, but painter's tape is also not very sticky, so it won't damage your cardstock. Let's get started. Okay, so the first supply you're gonna need is your painter's tape, and I'm just gonna make a small painting, so I kind of blocked off some of my paper because I'm just gonna use the middle of my paper, but you don't have to do that. You can make it as big or as small as you want. But the first thing you're gonna do is rip off a piece of painter's tape, make it as big or small as you want, and you're just gonna totally randomly put it on your paper. Just random, however you want it. And you're gonna do that as much as you want. So you can just divide it in half, you can make 3 sections, you can make 15 sections. Just however you want to look, because wherever you put tape, there's not going to be paint. So the only part that's going to be colored is these little triangles I made. And so that's how I'm just putting mine really random. Let's see. I try to make mine not so even so that it looks more random, but sometimes that's hard. Alright, and so mine's pretty small, so I don't have that much room for a lot of sections. So I just have a couple here. And I'll just throw this away. Alright, now we're ready to paint. See how easy that was? Okay, so my watercolor is actually, it's like all built into this little thing, which is really cool. It's got a bunch of different colors. Then it has a little sponge on it, but you can use either a sponge or a paper towel, whatever you want, to pat off your paintbrush. So then you're just gonna get your brush wet first, of course. So you want to make sure your brush is nice and wet, but not dripping. So it's wet to the touch, but it's not dripping wet. So, and then whatever color you're going to use, which I think I'm going to go with purple. You can use whatever colors you want. I'm going to get a little bit of that paint on my paintbrush. And then I'm just going to color in the sections that I haven't taped off. And depending on how much water you use on your paintbrush, your watercolors will be brighter or more muted. And see, I have a lot of water on mine, so mine's more like a lavender color rather than like this bright neon purple, which is fine. That's kind of how I wanted it. So I'm just gonna brush some on there. Get into the corner a little bit. And see, even when I'm putting it on my paper, it's not soaking wet. Because if you have it too wet, it will soak through. It'll soak through under the tape, but not over top. We don't want that to happen. Okay. So I think I'm going to paint another one of my sections the same color, which I've seen some people do multiple colors in one section, which is really cool. I've done a couple like that. So it almost has like this ombre effect. It turns out really pretty. And you would just put different colors on there and then get them really wet and blend them. Totally up to you. So these tend to move pretty quickly because you're literally just painting solid colors. So I've already got 2 of my 3 sections done, and now I'm gonna switch to blue, just because I think purple and blue look good together. So I'm gonna get my brush wet again, my little sponge. I'm gonna pat the purple out of it because we don't want any purple in the blue section. And so then I'm gonna get some blue, and I'm gonna paint some blue. Watercolors are pretty easy to work with because you can control it a lot more. You can control what your colors look like, how much paint you're using. It all has to do with the water. And so we talked about the painter's tape being hydrophobic, and watercolor is the opposite because it, obviously, being watercolors, it loves water. It needs water to paint. So that's how tape resist paintings really work, is because watercolors can absorb the water and need the water. But painter's tape is the opposite, so they kind of work alongside each other. So I'm gonna paint this one blue too. You can use a bigger brush too if you want. That would make it go even faster. Like I said, these are super quick. I'm just using this small paintbrush because it comes with this little tube of water, so that way I don't have to have a cup of water, but it's just as easy if you have to use a cup and a paintbrush. You would just have to dip it instead of just squeezing it onto a little sponge. Get some more paint. I really don't have a personal preference over the watercolor paints in tubes or in little patties, but it just depends on what you have. I feel like they're both pretty easy to find. Alright, so I think I'm going to paint my last section green, just to throw something different in there. Right. I just got to get this last section. And you see this is kind of bright for the other ones, so what I can do, if I'm not happy with my color, is I can get some more water on there and just kind of spread it out. Make it a little bit lighter. In the process of making it lighter, you're changing the ratio of paint to water, which is called diluting. So there's both paint and water on the paper, but if I add more water, it's going to change the balance. So basically just changing the portion size, which not hard to do. I do have another piece of paper under this one, just in case it bleeds, but like I said, my paper's pretty thick, so it shouldn't, but just for caution. Alright, so I just probably need one more paintbrush full of water. Let me get some more water, lighten this up. I'm just gonna get this last little corner. That looks good to me. Alright, so I'm cleaning up my paintbrush. And then you really want to let this dry as much as you can before peeling the tape off, because that's going to reduce your chances of peeling up paper. So we're going to let this dry for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, this has been drying for a couple minutes, so I'm going to start peeling. Try to find the piece, because you know, they're kind of layered, so I try to find the piece that's on the top, which would probably be this one. I'm just going to peel up the corner and peel it kind of slow, just in case I see some ripping, then I can stop it before it gets too bad. Right, there's one piece, and then you get this big one. You can already see our big lines forming. Just a couple more pieces. It's that one. And here's this one. You can also use washi tape if you have it, because it's kind of got the similar plasticky, papery property that painter's tape does, but I just like painter's tape. Alright, let's see. I'm just going to peel this one up first. And that one ripped my paper a little bit, but just on the edge, so it'll be okay. I'm gonna rip this one up. This part's pretty satisfying, to just peel the tape off. Alright. I'm gonna just peel this last piece off and show you guys what I got. Alright guys, so here's my final product, and you can see it's just really basic shapes, but you can do whatever you want with the tape resist method. Like I said, you can mix colors, you can make shapes with it. It's really cool to use, especially if you use center tape. It's really easy to make shapes, but this is just basically showing you guys that method, and so you can do whatever you want with it, but this is my final product. Great job, guys.